All right, thanks for joining us tonight. Episode 3, Basement Boy Banter, up and running. Want to thank all you basement dwellers for tuning in tonight. As always, I'm your host, Thor. With me, as always, my co-host, Brian. Brian, say hello.
Hi.
Busy week in Basement Boy news this week. Got a lot of things going on tonight. First up, we got some first looks of a few things. So we're going to get right to it. Vision, we got the character poster. We saw a little bit in the trailer. We've seen little glimpses and pieces here and there, concept art. This is our first actual look at the Vision. We got our thing. We had the first look the other week, real, bare glimpse. But this one we actually had him walking, like a full shot, and a shot of him punching. So we have both those. And then Yellow Jacket from the upcoming Ant-Man. Also got our first look of that. So we'll start with Vision. I liked it. I liked it a lot. Obviously, they had to tone down the color scheme from the original comics. I mean, you can't have bright purple or magenta, green, and base-colored mustard yellow almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they've toned down. They've made them, still those colors, but a little bit more muted, a little bit darker, which I love. Paul Bettany is actually going to be on screen for the first time. I mean, he's been in so many Marvel movies as the voice of Jarvis and, doing this and that. But now he actually gets to be in front of the camera, which will be kind of a nice change for him. And I'm curious to see what they do with that character. I mean, Vision is going to be an integral part of Age of Ultron and a very intricate part of Avengers moving forward into Phase 3. I mean, we're going to have a new Avengers cast at some point, and he's going to be, I have a feeling, a big part of that cast. So what did you think of it?
I thought it was neat. I thought it was kind of like when we were talking about Aquaman, how you really can't do that orange and green and have people even sort of enjoy it / take it seriously anymore. Definitely. Unless you're doing something that's like supposed to be a callback to something classic.
If it's meant to be campy.
Right. But if you want, which Avengers, they want a tiny bit of like fun to it, but not really campy. No. So they really had to kind of change the whole look of him, and they did a good job. He still looks like, I don't confuse him with other characters and go, oh, it's purple guy number 2.
You can still tell it's the Vision
right.
First glance. And I like that they took out the big, what's that thing called?
The Dracula collar.
The Dracula collar. There you go, the Dracula collar.
Do I get my Dracula collar going?
Not so much. Not so much.
I didn't mind. I mean, it's goofy, yeah, but it's not the worst part of his outfit.
You know what I thought of, though? When I thought they took that away, which I kind of figured, Doctor Strange coming up, his giant Dracula collar is such a part of that costume. I'm really curious to see the cape design for Doctor Strange.
They better at least, if they tone it down, that'll be fine. Like, it doesn't need to be up to his head.
I hope they go the other way and just super dramatic.
Yeah.
Like, just flowing, circular, just
give him some big pauldrons, too. Yep. Just give him like a very
super over the top,
very anime villain look to him almost.
A little bit, where it comes up and it hooks. Maybe it's I don't know.
Put danglies on it.
There you go, bedazzled danglies hanging from it for sure. That's exactly what I am picturing in my head when I picture the Doctor Strange cloak. But so that's Vision. The Thing, like we said, last time we were talking about it, it's a more rough looking thing, which is good. It looks like rock. But I just think they got this design right. Yeah. Like, it looks menacing. You know what I mean? Like, that picture of him punching, that's clobbering time. Yeah. Like, that's what I've always wanted to see from a Thing incarnation on the big screen.
I was almost hoping, which it didn't bother me at first when I first kind of looked at the Thing stuff, but now I'm kind of like, I feel like they should have maybe changed his color a little. He's a little too orange when I look at it now.
You think so? See, well, I look at the Michael Chiklis one, and that's very orange. Yeah. I think this is toned down from that. I mean, it's still... I mean, you can't really go gray or much less. Like, it has to still have an orange hue to it, but more brownish tones, which I think they did a good job as opposed to the Michael Chiklis, the horrible ones that were very orange.
Well, and they weren't horrible when they came out. They were horrible compared to now.
that was a practical suit, I'm pretty sure, too, that he wore.
I think so. It looked
as
it
opposed
looked practical.
to this being, if you've seen the actor who's actually playing the thing, and I forget his name right now, but he's a tiny little guy. You know what I mean? He's a scrawny kid, so it's all CG, mocap sort of thing. But it's the personality. This was what the director liked about him. Is he had the anger
Just
inside him, like anybody who would be turned into rock would be. I mean, you'd be pissed. I mean, I would be. You know.
Well, I wouldn't mind being a rock man, just like I wouldn't mind being a cyborg or a. Give me any superpower. I don't care the cost.
Okay,
I'm
cyborg
down for.
I can get behind, but rock thing. I mean, then everything turns to rock. I mean, there's just certain things.
Okay,
there's a life hindrance there.
I got a question for you. This is something me and my friends always shoot back and forth.
All right.
Comments? You're allowed to comment too.
They're always allowed to comment.
Robot legs. They're willing to give you robot legs, but they have to go like waist down. Okay. You have no human parts. So you lose your thing.
Yep.
Would you do it for robot legs?
Are the robot legs an improvement? Can I run
very
fast?
I'd say,
do I have near almost superpowers in my legs? Can I jump high?
I'd say.
Can I kick through walls? Like, what can I do with these legs?
I'd say you'd be above average, and it wouldn't degrade. Like, you wouldn't have to work them out. Like you have to do.
Average, though.
But that's what I mean. So you'd maintain that above average. But you'd never have to work them out, and they'd be robot legs, so they would have more endurance to them, so you could run longer.
Never get tired.
You just wouldn't have. It wouldn't be like the Flash or something. So robot legs.
So, okay, no super leg strength.
No,
or
we'll
anything.
say for now, no.
Then probably not.
Really, I would
probably not
totally.
Because then at a certain point, I'm gonna have a really old upper half and robot legs. And I'm gonna be tired and probably want to sleep and watch Netflix.
Right, and
then
then you can literally walk without feeling.
I don't know.
So
I don't
just
know.
sleep. I would do it. Heartbeat.
Plus, well, you're
a
better man than I.
Super strength in the robot legs. Then would you do it?
Definitely.
Okay.
Oh yeah, if I could jump like buildings and I could run, like 50 miles an hour, and I could just kick through walls.
Get swords in your heels, like
not even that. I mean, if I just literally had like bionic legs, sure, for sure, sign me up instantly. Any crazy places doing scientific experiments,
mad
me and
scientists
Brian are always open. If the price is right and the benefits are going to work out in my favor, then I'm in. So all right, moving on from there, we got way off track on that one. Yellow Jacket from Ant-Man. I liked it. I mean, the picture from Entertainment Weekly had the Yellow Jacket and then the little Ant-Man coming up. I thought it was, of all the things I've seen of Ant-Man, that was the coolest thing I've seen so far. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a trailer coming out that we just heard about right before we started taping.
Right.
We'll talk about next week, and hopefully we get to see some of him in action in that trailer. That would be amazing. But what did you think?
Honestly, out of the three, Vision, The Thing,
Yellow
Jacket, I liked the Yellow Jacket stuff better. Even if you threw like Deadpool in there and some of these concept pictures we're seeing, I would honestly say he's visually, and when I see it, do I get excited? Is it cool looking? Am I like, whoa, I want to watch the movie that guy's in? Yeah, he's number one. That was actually...
Well, they need to start ramping up the... Avengers is two weeks away.
Well, there'll probably be an Ant-Man trailer and stuff on there.
As soon as Avengers hits theaters, they really have to amp up the Ant-Man... I'm lost tonight.
Like the Ant-Man...
advertising and stuff. The marketing for Ant-Man. There we go.
Well, and I'm sure they'll do, like, in the movie, kind of like the Daredevil stuff where they kind of hide Avengers things in it.
You think there'll be a post-credit scene that'll have... Because there was also said this week that there's going to be no end credit scene in Avengers.
Really?
Yep. Josh Whedon came out and said, "Don't stick around. There's no shawarma scene in Avengers: Age of Ultron. There's nothing." I mean, now granted, that shawarma scene was added a week before the movie came out.
Yeah.
So as of right now, I believe he's telling the truth.
Right.
But there is a mid-credit scene. So there's, the movie ends, you get the credits for a little bit, then a scene. So there will be one of those. And I really hope they do Ant-Man because they need to kind of push that. And they're not ready to reveal like Miss Marvel, Spider-Man. I mean, it could be Black Panther.
I could see Spider-Man, just like hints, not
maybe,
like the tiniest little taste.
Maybe. Yeah, I think that's a long shot, though.
Yeah,
I mean, if they were smart, it would be Ant-Man. Because that's another thing I heard this week, too, is that Ant-Man is going to play a part into Avengers. Like, you won't know the whole story of Age of Ultron until you actually see Ant-Man.
Nice.
That's what I've been hearing around. So we'll see if that comes true. I mean, we're actually going to see Age of Ultron
a little bit early.
We
won't give exact dates yet.
We got some sources and some things. We're working on stuff, you know.
Well, and I'm sure the scenes get cut. The end credit scenes probably getting cut just because movie theater ushers probably hate that.
Probably a few different reasons. I have a feeling this one's not going to end where they can cut like a happy scene. It's going to be a pretty dark ending. I mean, this has to be like Empire Strikes Back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're going into Civil War. You're going into Infinity War. Like, some bad stuff needs to happen in this movie. Yeah. Very bad stuff.
Nothing to lighthearted it.
So, no lighthearted shawarma ending. So, I'm curious to see. But out of the three, I think Vision was my favorite. Out of the three reveals, I think Vision. Because I really love that character. And I'm curious to see what they do with him in the movie. I'm curious to see how he's utilized. But I like the look. I really liked it. It fits. It's going to fit with the MCU. It's going to fit with what they're doing. So yeah, I mean, Yellow Jacket is definitely my 1A. And then the Thing. I mean, we already kind of saw the Thing. But the Yellow Jacket thing definitely got me more excited for that movie.
Right.
Which the first trailer was so in my opinion. I'm really curious to see the trailer that comes out tomorrow. So we can talk about that next week. So make sure, tune in next week as well. So moving on from there, into some more Marvel stuff. So Kevin Feige was somewhere this weekend talking about a lot of different Marvel things, and he said that Infinity War Part 1 and 2 isn't going to be one movie cut into two. It's going to be two standalone movies. So I don't know if that's two different stories being told, two different casts for the two different movies. I mean, there's a lot of different things that can entail. Yes, it could entail that it's one continuous story, and they're saying that, but it's not really two separate movies. But it's weird that they'd say that they come out and say these aren't going to be one movie cut in two. It's two separate movies.
Well, I think that's smart actually, because we've seen like the Lord of the Rings movie cut stuff, the Hobbit movie cut
Hunger
stuff.
Games,
right.
Cuts, Harry Potter did it.
Drives people nuts. I think when I hear people talking about it, people are never like, man, I'm really glad they cut in the middle of that exciting. It's that fake cliffhanger stuff.
Well, there's no beginning, middle, and end. There's beginning, middle, okay, wait.
Sort of end.
Wait for it, wait for it. More middle, end.
It's kind of like if you've ever read the Goosebump books from way back when, I have. Every chapter end, it's like, and then I fell down a giant cliff. But then the next page, it's like, but it was actually not a real cliff. Or like, then a giant monster jumped out of the bush. It was actually my dog. And it's like, that's what it feels like to me, where it's like pretending there's some sort of big cliffhanger. But you don't start the next movie on this huge, I guess, Desolation of Smog kind of did it. But still, that worked just because that wasn't the main plot. So it didn't matter. But still,
no, I get what you're saying. It is. There's a device that they use when they cut those movies like that, where it doesn't really, you don't get a finale, like a sense of finality in that. Yeah. I don't know. I just like this to be two separate movies. I think it's really interesting. And then we also found out that the guys who wrote Winter Soldier, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, are actually coming over to write Infinity War. So they wrote Winter Soldier with the Russos. Now the Russos are coming over. They're bringing their writers with them. I like it. It's a genius move. I mean, if you got something that works and a pair of writers and a pair of directors work well together,
right?
Why not continue that if you can? And if they didn't have anything else on the slate, it's a no-brainer for Marvel. I mean, Marvel likes to do this too, as they have a bunch of people in their stable and they can just pick from the stable and like, all right. Then they start putting little teams together. This team works well together. This team works well together. Okay, give this team this movie, this team this movie. they're very calculated in how they break this all down. But I like it. I mean, it makes complete sense. What do you think?
Well, and then it's a smart way to kind of separate like the Guardians of the Galaxy from the Captain Americas, because you have the teams who are a little bit more used to that genre. So when they make it, it's not necessarily that it's a formula at that point, but it's more like you've done 6 action movies, you can kind of make 6 more action movies without being too stressed about it. So I think it's a smart move. The only problem is going to be if you didn't like Captain America Winter Soldier, which I don't think there was anyone that told me they didn't like it. But
I mean, I met some people who didn't love it, but no one who said like that was a bad movie. I mean, you can't watch that movie and say it was a bad movie. So
yeah, well, at the end of the day, it's good news to anyone who worked on Captain America Winter Soldier.
They're probably going to get
extras. You'll probably be getting a call here soon to get in.
Production people. Yeah, I mean that's smart though. I mean, if you know got a team that works well together, then just keep it going. So, and then finally wrapping up over at Marvel, Kevin Feige also talked about this weekend. It is going to be Peter Parker. Spider-Man in the MCU will be Peter Parker. I'm sorry, all you Miles Morales fans, but I really didn't think they were going to do that anyways.
Yeah.
But it's going to be Peter Parker. He's going to be 15 or 16, which I'm already hearing people out there, another teenage Spider-Man, like seriously. But I get it. I mean, they have to explain why he wasn't around during the first Avengers. So, and a little bit of what he said was that it's going to be, I think the first standalone Spider-Man movie from Sony is going to be more of, it's not going to be an origin story. They said no more origin stories. But they're going to pick up shortly after he got his powers and kind of talk about how he deals with the new responsibilities of having the powers and, you know, trying to adjust life to being Spider-Man.
Kind of like Batman Year One.
Yeah, a little bit. Yep. So he's already Spider-Man. You don't have to see how he becomes it. They can do it in a quick, you know, in the credits, really, in the opening credits, they can tell that story. So then pick up from there. But I think it's smart because then by the time we get to Infinity War Part 1, 2, you're looking at a 20-year-old Spider-Man who's coming out of college or in college. You know, they have a lot of different, it opens up a lot more options for them to do it that way. And then they can tell the story they want to tell from the beginning rather than pick up like a college Peter Parker or, you know, already, you know, out of college working. It just, it gives them the freedom to tell what's the story they want to tell with Spider-Man, which I think is smart.
I'm surprised more comic book movies haven't done that, because the Batman with Michael Keaton, it's not an origin story for Batman. You don't see him.
No, that's a Joker origin story.
And it works. It was, I mean, arguably one of the few of that age comic book movies that worked.
Well, that was the one that showed people you can do it darker. It doesn't have to be like...
Right.
That was the one. I mean, even the Donner Supermans were still lighter. I mean, that Tim Burton, Michael Keaton, 89 Batman, that really changed things. And then obviously Schumacher, you know, screwed the pooch with Batman and Robin and Bat Nipples and all that, you know, debacle.
But you know what I mean? I'm surprised more people or more studios aren't saying, hey, it worked with the Michael Keaton Batman. We can skip the origin story and you don't need to like skip it. The way they do it is Batman comes in, beats people up. You kind of get like the criminal perspective of Batman and go, oh, and then your brain can instantly click and go, superhero, he's beating people up. We know who a lot of these guys are. And you don't really need an origin for someone like Spider-Man who doesn't really know.
That's what I was just going to say. There's really 3 heroes that you don't need to ever tell the origin story for again, and that's Superman, Batman, Spider-Man. Those 3, everybody knows the origin. You know, my 8-year-old nephew to my 64-year-old father know the origin story of Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. So you never really need to tell those again. Now, there are characters where you have to tell the origin story. You have to because the general population just doesn't know who they are. And a lot of times, that's what I hated when they did it, when they just keep telling those stories. It's like, you show no faith in your movie-going, you know, audience that they don't already know who this person is coming into it, especially when it's the big three. That's what
Right.
that was my one downfalls of Man of Steel, is that it was an origin story. Like, it was. And I didn't really, I mean, it was a great origin story, but it was another origin story.
Yeah, but the Superman origin story can go kind of quick the way they do it, because it's like boom, 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 planet blows up, boom, boom, boom. He had to adjust to his superpowers, and then it very quickly becomes over half the movie is just him sort of taking on the role
when
of
he
Superman.
finds the ship and flies off.
You could honestly have cut to that point where he finds the ship, and that could have been the whole movie, and you wouldn't have lost anything really. You know what I mean?
No.
So they take their time to like. It feels rushed.
Well, you got to fill 2.5 hours.
Right.
So
But it feels rushed, that part, not in a bad way, but in a way where they're like, yeah, you know who Superman is. We'll get into the meat and potatoes. Just give us like half an hour to kind of fill in anyone who isn't a fan of Superman.
Well, and until like this, this incarnation. There are slight variations.
Well, and they
like
did a
having
cool.
the dad die in the tornado.
Oh, that was dumb.
I hated that part. There are some parts of that movie I really don't like. But God, that's a good movie. But that's what I like about what they're doing with. That's what I like what they're doing with Batman versus Superman. Is Batman's already Batman.
Yeah.
Like, they're not coming in and it's Batman Year One or Batman Begins. Batman's Batman. I'm hoping Batman already has like the cave with the giant penny in it.
Oh yeah.
And like the glass case with the Robin costume in it from Jason Todd. Like, I want all this stuff to have already happened. So if they want, they can go back and tell them stories, or just continue with new stories.
It'd be cool to see like a more classic Batcave too, because the two Batcaves we got kind of sucked, honestly.
Well, the one, and then in the second one, they didn't even have a Batcave. They were doing it in like a warehouse.
Right.
underground.
But the Batcave sucked in the third. Like, it was like not a good Batcave.
Well, the third Nolan movie is the weakest of the three, anyways. No, I'm curious to see how they do a lot of things in this movie. I mean, a lot of different things in B versus us. But
yeah.
So, moving on to the next topic, Deadpool. A lot of Deadpool stuff ever since. I mean, for a while now. Just Deadpool all over the place.
Like we said, the guerrilla marketing.
The guerrilla
They're going
marketing.
to town.
And they're doing what a lot of movies used to do, is put out these set photos. So photos from the set. We've seen, Deadpool with his swords out, with his guns out, standing on top of flipped over SUVs, in a hood with scarred face, looking like Wade Wilson from the comics. And then we saw him with Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Love that name.
Yeah.
She's a telepath who also can see into the future, or some, can see into the future and stuff like that. It gets premonitions of different things that end up happening. But yeah, it was cool to see that. She's got a shaved head in the picture that we saw sitting next to Deadpool in costume. I love that costume. I think you're right too. From a couple weeks ago when you said that was him in the Burt Reynolds pose on the rug, I'm pretty sure that was actual costume now, not CGI like I had thought. So
yeah,
I was wrong. But yeah, what have you thought about all the set photos?
They're decent. There's nothing that I'm getting too excited about, except for we might have to change our name to Negasonic middle-aged Banter, just to be cool.
Negasonic middle-aged Warhead Banter.
That's our new name, guys. You can find us on
Twitter.
Twitter.
That'll be really easy.
Yeah.
We'll make those accounts later tonight. I'll make all of them.
No, but it's decent stuff. It's nothing I get too excited over, because you don't really get a lot. It's like, I'm standing next to a car. Like, I liked when he was on the rug because it establishes character. This stuff doesn't really establish character
it just
to me.
You what's going on.
And I don't really need like a step-by-step necessarily update on it. But it's nice that they're doing it for the people who care. Because, yeah, I may not be super huge.
I just wanted to do the story so I could say Negasonic Teenage Warhead like 4 or 5 times. I love that name.
Yeah,
I'm literally probably going to start calling myself that. I mean, although I think that character's a girl.
You want to switch from Thor to Negasonic Teenaged Warhead?
See, I didn't think that through all the way. Never mind.
Yeah, maybe
I'm going to start calling you that. No, I'm going to start calling my girlfriend that. That's going to go over real well. So if I have a black eye on next week's show, pretty much assume that I tried it, she didn't take it, and I got punched in the face. That probably was going to happen anyways.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on from there. Something. Oh, the Flash movie. A little bit of news on the Flash movie. Phil Lord and Chris Miller, the guys who did Lego, they wrote and directed the Lego movie, and they wrote 22 Jump Street. 22. They've been brought on to do something with the Flash movie. They said write a treatment for it, so I don't know if that's a synapse. I don't know if it's a rough draft of a script. I'm not sure, but I like the news because I like what these guys have been doing. I mean, Lego movie, surprise hit of last year.
Yeah.
Wonderful movie. 22 Jump Street. Hilarious follow-up. Actually a good sequel for once. Like an amazing sequel. So I'm excited to see these two, what they can do with the Flash character. And I think their style of writing and comedy blends perfectly with what the Flash needs to come across on the big screen.
Well, so quick. I mean, even Lego movie, the comedy in that is really fast.
Bam, bam, bam.
And I like that they picked, because when you first told me that, I was like, people who did an animated movie and people who did an adult comedy. I don't get it. But then, like, thinking about it, I'm like, it's too comedy. So, like, they know what the Flash, because the Flash isn't supposed to be all jokes, but if you're not laughing, they've probably done something wrong.
Oh, yeah. Because
So
the Flash is, I mean, he's just going a million miles an hour. You know what I mean? So he's talking a million miles an hour. As he's fighting, he's usually bantering back and forth with whoever, he's going up against that week. Captain Boomerang, Mirror Master.
Yeah.
Whatever the rogues.
But it's a smart choice as far as that goes, as far as the style goes. But it's also a smart choice just because when you watch Lego Movie, that quick comedy is going to work really well because you can have a little bit of tripping on whatever or the slapstick in there, but it's gotta be quick. If it's not done fast,
tripping on acid or
no.
I didn't really know where you were going with that. I was like, how does LSD tie into the Flash?
No.
I'm curious to see how he's going to tie this bow up.
No,
but then you didn't go that route.
Like slapstick stuff would be really good in that, and Lego Movie had sort of that easily pull off sort of the same kind of style in that sense. The comedy worked well and could extend itself into a Flash movie very well if you did it along the same vein, not the same thing, but the same vein. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
with
kept the
quick-witted,
humor fast, but then I mean, you're gonna have different tones.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously the tonality of that movie would be vastly different than either of the
right.
But obviously they would have to know that going in. And I think it's just working in their style into a comic book genre. I mean, either way, I think it's good.
Well, I don't think dark tone is something that most directors have a problem with, considering how many dark superheroes we have and had, like movie-wise.
Yeah.
So I think the hard part is going to be the comedy, because when you look at Guardians, that's what they did so right.
Well, the Flash TV show's got a little bit of comedy.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how many episodes of that you've seen, but
not enough to really give you a good synopsis.
I mean, it's got decent. It could do a better job. I mean, I really like that they make these TV shows
almost like test.
Well, not
test out characters,
but they're like otherworld stories.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like they're different dimensions. They're not. So like Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Daredevil, all the TV shows that Marvel has, they're all part of the MCU, all part of the same universe. DC decided to go the other route. So the Supergirl show coming out, Gotham, Arrow, Flash, the Teen Titans show, none of these are in the same universe as Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, or any of the movies coming out. Which is smart, because then it sets them up for two things. Number one, they can just have two separate storylines. So the people on the TV side can be as creative as they want and tell whatever stories they want, and same on the movies. Another way they can go about it is like a crisis, because if you have another universe
yep.
and you have this universe, you could eventually, I don't think it'll happen, but it sets itself up. If it becomes popular enough, if people, make enough noise for something like that, it's something you could possibly see in 2022 when the next slate of movies gets
Well,
announced.
and then you don't have to explain why this person didn't show up to this event or why this person didn't help defeat this villain. They're in this city, or you don't have to explain as much as far as the canon goes, and you can still give little winks and nods where it's like Superman falls into a crowd and the guy who helps him up is Arrow or something. You know what I mean? Like as like a wink. We know he's in this TV show. You like, but without having
they can do stuff like that too. I mean, I just like it because then neither one has to be creatively confined in any way. You know, it
put in a box.
It allows the creativity to just flow, and that's best for both TV and movies. I think with Marvel, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't the best show. I mean, the Daredevil show is good.
Yeah.
I'm only a couple, and that actually will go right into our next topic, which is Daredevil. If you haven't heard, the Daredevil Netflix TV series came out April 10th, so it popped up on Netflix, 3 days ago?
Yeah.
At this point.
Real close.
I'm 3 episodes in right now. You have yet to start the series.
I've done sort of like my background information look where I look at
trailers,
looked at some news about it, see what to expect going in, so I'm not just blindsided by this is horrible or this is like amazing. Why did I decide to watch this when I have to work the next 3 days in a row?
And we'll be doing a review for season 1 of Daredevil next week. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But I'll just say for the first 3 episodes, it's good. It's really good. It is very violent. It is, the violence in that show is, I didn't even expect that level of violence. No. I mean, there's a scene in episode 2 in a bowling alley. Text me. I bet you text me after you see that scene and you're like, whoa. Yeah. Because it was, I'm curious to see how it ends. I'm curious to see the red suit. I'm curious to see, I'm curious to see a lot of things. But it's definitely one of those shows you can sit down and watch multiple episodes because it's written very well, but it's very dark. I mean, it's much darker than anything we've seen from Marvel up to this point. Yeah.
But that's what we talked about. We said, you know, like the Game of Thrones, the House of Cards, the Orange is the New Black, the
all the things they're doing over there.
You know, well, Game of Thrones, but you know what? I'm just talking TV stuff. It can get darker like that in a way that movies, for some reason, cannot get away with. Really, like movies can be bloody and gory, but they can't necessarily go with the same dark tonality that can, without people being like, "Why is it like?" I mean, Quentin Tarantino, every movie he does gets yelled at. It's too bloody.
I think part of with Marvel too, it would be hard to do the cinematic universe the way that this looks like this TV universe is going to be doing.
Kids going to it.
Well, yeah, it's not family friendly. Yeah. But the one thing I will say. The thing you were most excited for, Kingpin, he just showed up in the last episode I watched, but when that dude is on screen, presence. I mean, yeah.
I like him.
And he's had a quote about he wants to go up against Spider-Man. I would love to see that. Take as Vincent something, but bring that guy in to the Sony, get him on, write him in, because he could be a great... That could be a
good crossover.
Villain. Well, and it could be a through villain too, where he'd actually never get stopped. You could have. He's the mastermind. He's pulling kind of like
what they did with Thanos, where they just sort of show him like I'm sitting on a chair because I sent the bad guy to go beat you up, like that with Spider-Man.
But with him with a crime syndicate in running New York and stuff like that.
They if they ever felt like they wanted to do it, they could eventually do a crossover with Daredevil and Spider-Man
Daredevil and Spider-Man always they turn up a lot together throughout the years in the comics.
But that's what I mean in the movie.
You know what's funny that you say that? Because I could see that too as Marvel's like, yeah, Sony, you can have some of our characters in your Spider-Man movies, but you can't have Thor or Robert Downey Jr., but you can get the dude who plays
who did Daredevil.
You can have him. You can have Jessica Jones. You can have anybody from Netflix.
But that's not bad at all.
No, it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying I could totally see Marvel like, yeah, we'll give you characters. Oh, you want Chris Evans, Captain America? He's actually busy. You know what I mean?
But, I mean, I wouldn't complain about it.
No, I wouldn't at all. I would love to. And you know what I actually thought of when I started watching this? You know what I'd love to see a series of? Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
A Netflix Ghost Rider series.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How do you feel about Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider?
I liked him as Ghost
I
Rider.
loved him.
I
loved him.
Yeah, no, I didn't have all the.
He was crazy.
Yeah,
and that was
he
good.
is crazy.
That's
That
what I
dude's
mean.
nuts. Like when he married Lisa Marie Presley, he went into like Elvis's like personal room that no one's allowed in, and like took pictures and stuff, and like used the king's stuff. I mean, that dude is nuts for real. But no way could they use him for like a Netflix show. They'd have to recast it. It would have to be a completely different thing.
I wonder.
I'm just saying.
Comments. Who can take Nicolas Cage's mantle as Ghost Rider? Give us some good options. Yeah,
because I have nobody right now that I can even think of that would be
Nicolas Cage. Like he's not like the best actor in the world, but as far as crazy pills, he's taken more than anyone I can think of since friggin'
he's complete crazy sauce.
Yeah,
I mean he's complete crazy sauce.
Yeah.
No, there's a bunch of characters I was actually thinking of that these little Netflix 13 episode seasons just opens the door for them to do so many
and the crossovers
more.
between them would be much better.
If you want
with
to pull them into the
Daredevil, Ghost Rider, like you could get some of these darker ones and do better crossovers that route.
Well, you could do little mini series. You could do a Daredevil, Ghost Rider team up on Netflix, for an hour and a half. You could do an hour and a half special, like
mini movie,
mini movie type thing. Or if you wanted, pull these characters into the MCU at some point. It opens. It just the more options you have, and the more toys in the toy box. Is that a bad thing for any of us? Realistically, no.
When I like the TV show aspect of the superhero stuff, because the movies take so long to come out that you kind of get too hungry for them. Because comic books, people can literally read comic books till they die.
Well,
There's
they come
enough
out every month.
But even if they didn't, let's say they just stopped making comic books tomorrow, you probably couldn't read every comic book that's been published in like 5 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like you never really get that hunger anymore for like comic book wise, but the movie wise, you're like, I gotta wait for Ant-Man. It's gonna take a whole nother 6 months. Whereas this TV show kind of gives you something to satisfy you without it being a kid's show.
I gotta wait 2 years for Batman versus Superman. They've been done, filming that movie since like February or January or something like that.
Why are they waiting so long?
I don't know.
Comments? Tell them to tell us why they're waiting so long.
I don't know. So moving on from there. So yeah, be on the lookout for the Daredevil review next week. I can't wait to finish that season that season 1, something like that. Yeah. It's been an off night. Jared Leto had a little picture, him in green hair, no makeup, a little homage to the Killing Joke cover, which is one of my favorite Batman stories ever. I mean, the one thing that got me thinking about that is, did they do it just as a nod to, hey, this is, just as a nod to the comic? Or is that the Joker they're actually going to go with? Like, that crazy, that, like, evil. I mean, the Joker from The Killing Joke is way, way more twisted and sick and evil than the Heath Ledger Joker.
Yeah.
Like, much more. I don't know. I liked it. I can't wait to see that him as Joker. I have a feeling it's gonna be something special.
I think it's just like the Batman versus Superman speech they did when they first announced it from The Dark Knight Returns. I don't think it's necessarily they're going to take any of that stuff word for word, that we're ripping that character off from this, but I think it's basically stuff to give you a taste and to be like, it's in the same vein as this other product. So if you've seen that product or want to see that product,
so
it'll be in that.
Batman's going to be in the same vein as the Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns, or Joker.
Well, the movie, right? Because it's a versus movie, and then now you've got the Joker. So they're probably trying to be like, this is going to be.
Oh yeah,
that's going to play a role.
Batman versus Superman.
No, but that'll play a role. You know what I mean? That's the way their marketing seems to be working. Is that premise is going to have something to do, I guarantee, with whatever the Joker's doing.
There's been a lot of people saying, why do Suicide Squad after Batman versus Superman? Like, why would you make that the property afterwards? But the one thing, I mean, you know Batman, Superman, a lot of people know the Flashes, Wonder Woman. Most of the heroes in DC Comics. Name villains
other than Batman villains,
other than the Joker, other than Lex Luthor, and other than those two. name me
Well,
like 5 other villains. I mean, not you, but I mean,
no,
your
but
typical
Batman villains are probably the most commonly known.
Oh yeah.
Then like a
Riddler.
very small handful of Superman stuff. But like you said, Boomerang, Mirror Man, like people
See, that's what
don't
I'm
know
saying.
those
And
villains.
that's what I'm getting at. Is you need a villain for Aquaman. You need a villain for the Flash movie. You need a villain for Wonder Woman. You need a villain for Green Lantern. You need a villain for pretty much. You need these villains that can go off and do other things and be in other movies. Because I think we haven't talked about it yet, but they did announce Killer Croc is going to be in Suicide Squad.
Really?
Didn't we actually mention that in? Was that the test video, or was that episode 1 where we were talking about Killer Croc as a Batman villain I wanted to see?
Yeah, I think that was.
So I was super excited when I heard this news.
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna attempt to pronounce the actor's name who they got to play Killer Croc, but
Do you know anything else he's
he was in Oz, the TV show Oz, and it'll come to me. ABC. The Island didn't really exist. Lost.
Yep.
He was in Oz and Lost. But yeah, so they got Killer Croc.
You pronounced the other lady the other time right, but you can't get this guy.
No, I'll show you the name. You take a stab.
Mouthful.
At it. It's a lot of vowels, more vowels than I can pronounce. But yeah, so I think it's just a good way to introduce a bunch of villains that they're going to use throughout these other movies. So you're not like, well, who's this guy and who's this guy? Now you know who Deadshot is. You're going to know who Harley Quinn is, Rick Flag, Captain Boomerang. You know, you're going to know who these villains are moving forward. So I think it's a smart idea to have Suicide Squad come right after Batman versus Superman. I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Well, and more people know the heroes, so when you get that villain cred, you're going to... Yep. People will be interested to see those movies just because they were rooting for the villains before, and now they have to root against them. So it's time to kind of see how they play out. So it's probably...
I hope they don't make... That's the one thing I hope they don't do is try to make the bad guys good. You know what I mean? Like, still make them bad. Yes, we have to root for them in a certain sense.
Make it a crime movie.
But make it so they're still doing bad things.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like a heist movie
that's one of my concerns about that movie. But David Ayers is, that dude's a great director, so I have no question that he'll do a good job. So going on from Joker, last real topic for this week is the Archangel or Angel concept art. Last week we talked about the angel with the white wings and the glass tower surrounded by people. This week we got confirmation, number 1, that Ben Hardy was going to be cast as Angel. And then we got a picture of him with what looks like the metal razor wings. So when he becomes not Angel, but Archangel. And we doesn't really know much about Angel or the Apocalypse storyline. Apocalypse has 4 horsemen. One of the 4 horsemen of the Apocalypse is the Angel of Death or the Archangel. So what he does is mutates Angel with the actual like white wings into these like razor like wings of death pretty much. Yeah. So we got a little picture of that, and that got me really excited because I was hoping they were going to go that route, but there was no confirmation. And then Bryan Singer putting up that picture kind of confirms that that's the route they're going to go with the character, and that's awesome.
Well, and I liked how it looked metal, but it was like the organic-y too. Like it had like this or that. I don't know. It looked cool and like... you probably don't play Magic cards, but there are a few Magic cards that have Phyrexian is the name of it, and it's basically robot people that are very organic, so they're like robot organic, whatever you want to call that meld.
Okay, yeah.
So that look is cool.
So you can still see the vein,
the flesh mixed with the robot. That's kind of, which that's not that far, but I like when the metal stuff still looks almost like
organic.
Yeah, so it looks like
metal, but it has an organic look.
Right. So it's not like squared robot wings, or it's not like Falcon's wings or whatever. They're like
they actually look like feathers still, but they're metal feathers,
and the wings still look like they got like arm and muscle. Like it's I like that look. It's a good look.
So. Yeah, like I said, a lot of news this week. And so that's going to do it, I think, for this Sullivan and Basement Boy Banter, your number 1 source for all things Basement Boy related. I'm your host, Thor. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, ThorIsGR8. You can also find us, Brian.
We now have a Facebook page, so you can find Basement Boy Banter on Facebook. You can like and leave more comments, anything, suggestions for this or that.
Questions for next week. Some of next week's topics, Batman versus Robin's coming out next week, so we'll watch that and have a review of that.
Yep.
The Daredevil review, the Ant-Man trailer review. I'm sure there'll be another bunch of other stuff that breaks this week. So make sure, watch our Twitter feed, watch our Instagram account, because we do post, little updates throughout the week of, things we're going to talk about, quick opinions about other things. So always stuff out there for all you basement dwellers. We want to thank you again for joining us from the basement. We'll see you guys next week. If you like what you just saw, make sure you click that button below and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our videos, and you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. All right, Toby, you gotta start coming down here at some point.